Good morning, friends. It's 9:30 Central Time, Cinco de Mayo, 05/05/26, and you have stumbled on or intentionally come to Coffee on the Porch, a weekly live stream from here in the studio of Selfish Giant Productions. Welcome and come on in. The water's fine. We gather for an hour. Conversation about spirituality, music, politics, life, all the stuff you're not supposed to talk about. We have a regular crew. We have new people who join us on Substack here pretty regularly. So welcome if you are a new watcher, viewer. Listen to that. Listen to how beautiful that is. All right, friends, let me jump in with you here. Welcome. Welcome, y'all. Good to see you. Good to see you as always. Let's see what we got here. Oh, my Lord. John and Nancy Bryant. You know it's bad because they both posted it at the same time. They both say it is snowing in Fort Collins, Colorado. I have a dear clergy friend who lives in Denver, and she was reporting similar stuff. I think 39 degrees in Denver this morning, which is insane to me, y'all. God bless you. You chose it. I know you're going to get back to me in August about that, of course. I get it. So you have to suffer through May snow. May snow. I can't even. I really can't. God bless you. So welcome to John and Nancy from Fort Collins, Colorado. Welcome to Rick Lang from down in Brownwood, Texas. Michael Wesley just in the southern portions of Dallas County. You're in Dallas County, right? Pretty sure. Tara Lang's here too. The Burgers are here. Welcome. Bobby says, Happy Cinco de Mayo. Linda Waring, welcome to Linda Waring joining us from Ohio. Welcome to Linda, and a second part of the Colorado crew, Larry Pennington, is here. Thought about you all week, Larry. I know it must have been a hard week, I bet you. Good morning to Nancy Kelly, who is also here, and James. Hey, James, good to see you, buddy. Well, you are all here. Most of you know why you're here. You're here for Coffee on the Porch, the live stream, as we said, here on Substack every 9:30 Tuesday at on the Winnie F Talks stream. And a reminder to new people or folks who see this later. Some people watch this later as it gets posted onto Substack. You can get a text reminder about this, a little nudge. The only message I'll send you all week, I promise, is a little nudge text reminder that would come out at roughly 9 o'clock my time, 9 o'clock Central. And that would nudge you to join us. So if you are interested in that, if you are interested in a little text message nudge, then sign up there. James Myers says, Substack should be pancakes. Yeah, I'll have the Substack. We could go some pretty dark places, James, if we ask what you'd put on a Substack. Woo! See, this is where my mind goes. Probably where yours goes too, I guess. All right. So, yeah, we gather here. We talk about politics, spirituality, music, life. We gather for an hour, drink a little coffee, have a little time. I always do this. I pick up the guitar before I drink my coffee, which is not what I'm supposed to do. Look at that. I got my Jesse Wells shirt on, y'all, from the concert I went to a while back. Jesse Wells, Ozark, Arkansas, the Under the Power Lines tour. Oh my gosh, that was a crazy night. It was a crazy, amazing show with Jesse Wells. But let's drink some coffee. Let's take a breath. I will say, I tell you to do this every week, and I don't always do it myself. But I am really trying to get back into focusing on my breathing, just to remind myself to get out of the stress response, right? So maybe take a couple deep breaths today, and then pick up your cup. We have the official Coffee on the Porch mug. But it says on the other side, our question of the moment, which is, how is your soul? How are you doing? First, pour myself my coffee. All the way to the bottom. I sucked down the whole first cup here earlier, which is good. We got the Onyx coffee. Pretty sure, I think it's Monarch still. Onyx coffee. How is your soul? That's the question. Leave us a comment. Leave your friends here a comment. And then our practice is we think about this for a minute. We really, is it good? Is it bad? Is it ugly? What's going on in your world? What are you afraid about or concerned about in the world? I'm going to take a couple sips and think about that myself. I have some pre-programmed answers that obviously I'll share with you in a moment, but oh my goodness. And I will noodle on this guitar. Hey, Catbird, welcome. Welcome, my friend. So I'm going to, let's see, where do I want this mic? I think I want it about, what am I thinking? About something like that. Try to capture some of the guitar. It's a very complex sound system that involves just moving the mic. All right, leave me a comment. How's your soul? How you doing? All right, y'all. Song I'll be doing in just a minute. Some of you, I believe I've done the song I'm doing today before, but I'll do it again because that's what we do. We do songs. I do songs here. I don't know. Y'all can play along if you want. I bet Bobby plays along now and then. All right, let me pull down the wings of the chair, sit back a bit, take a sip of my own coffee, and let's talk. Let's talk amongst ourselves. Let's see. Rick Lang is saying, you know what? That's a 35-year-old reference now. I bet there are people who have no idea what I mean when I say that. Talk amongst yourselves. Rick Lang says this, my soul is good and tomorrow is my 35th birthday and I will get to see my parents. Oh, excellent. Tell Debbie hi, please. Will you tell her hi from me, please? Let's see. Think flute puts breathing. Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah. James is suggesting a model of, I don't know how you play the flute. I'm assuming it's something like this. Just kind of push that air out and get it deeply out of there, in and out a couple times. You know, the more you read about this, the more the science is stunning on this, about how if you really will, in the moments of your deepest stress, just pause and take a couple of those deep, push it all out. It is stunning what the body does to recenter itself. No matter, your mind's still probably racing, still probably a problem right in front of you, but at least maybe you can deal with it better. Yeah, thank you for that, James. Kat says, good morning. Linda Waring up in Ohio says, my soul is taking a day of rest. I can't seem to level out my thought and my activity in one day. There are peaks and valleys and required days of rest. Yes, that feels like that tracks, Linda, with me and with maybe a lot of us here. I get that. James says, seems like you'd be a rhythm guy. Oh yeah, definitely. Never a wah pedal. Well, I would not be opposed to that. I think I would have a lot of fun with a wah pedal. You know, it's funny. I was with, I have a neighbor here, Ben Reimer, who is a lawyer and musician. He has a couple of bands that he plays in. And he had people over to his house Sunday evening for a little pasta and porch hang to play some songs. It was a blast. It was really fun. And, James, I was reminded that, I'm a rhythm guy. Ben can shred the solos, but I'm a rhythm guy. Tara Lang says, my soul is good because you're going to church. Excellent. Debbie Berger says, dog sitting a basset hound. Nikki is on the blanket mesmerized by your guitar playing. Hi, Nikki. Hi, good boy, good girl. Good girl, I guess. Good girl, Nikki. John, despite the snow, John Bryant says this, tilled the garden Sunday and now we have precipitation. Feeling good. Well, I'm glad the snow's okay. You blow a jug just like, just like a flute. That's good to know. It's a good metaphor. Michael Wesley says this, I advise those who I love to buy a freezer and a vacuum sealer for food. The chems for the manufacture of fertilizer restricted through Hormuz like petrol are going to result in a decline of agriculture and an increase of prices. I anticipate civil unrest. You know, Michael, you're certainly not the only person saying that. I have heard that from a lot of pretty smart people that we are not halfway through the instability that could likely be caused by that war and the mess with Hormuz. So, it's a mess. It's a big mess. And hungry people are not happy people. I think that is very credible. Yeah. I mean, you know, that war has fallen off the front page, right? Stunning how Trump threatens civilizational destruction. The whole world freaks out. And then he just sort of, let's have a ceasefire for a while. Gets Pakistan to act like it's their idea. And now a couple weeks later, nobody's even talking about it. This is the way the guy works, right? He blows things up, destroys things, sows destruction and narcissism, and then just, let's move on to the next thing, whatever that is. It's unbelievable. It's so destabilizing as a leader. So, Michael, I can't argue with you. I think food-wise, we may be headed for some challenging times. And gas prices, you name it. You name all the things that are likely to go up. Still, Cat Bird, however, back in her world, saying still feeling post-event collapse syndrome after having family visits for 3 weeks, feeling sad over another unexpected loss of a friend in Scottsdale. I'm so sorry, Cat. You've had so many losses these last couple of years. I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I did see Cat in the real world at a lovely house concert over on the other side of the lake. And it was really good to see you in the real world. And it was good to meet some of your family who were there. That was fun. Larry Pennington says this, worried about the country and the world like everybody else. Hey, Liz Moen, welcome, friend. James Meyer says, every store is always out of the cheapest tortillas. Well, that tells you something, doesn't it? That tells you something. To Michael's point, there's going to be some pissed off people that they have to eat the cheap tortillas. I assure you that is true. So yeah, who knows what's coming. Good morning, Betsy. Welcome to Betsy Freoff. She was with us yesterday in something that I will talk about in just a bit. Well, thank you for sharing all the stuff that's going on in your worlds. Let me adjust some things that I can see here. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Let me get right into what I was going to talk to you about what's been going on in my world. Just a bit ago, we had Linda talking about taking time out and finding the balance. I'm still working on that. And one of the things I did earlier this week was a ride on the bike around White Rock, which, as you know, is my favorite and preferred form of exercise. Oh, wait, I want to get back to what James said before I launch into this. James says, small win to crow about. Nashville old friend kept him on focus, didn't get evicted, not returning to homelessness. Miracles when they come. Hold on to those, buddy, right? I'm going to be talking about that in a minute, man. About you got to hold on to the good stuff, the stuff that goes well, and you got to remember it. You can't just wake up the next morning and go, okay, what's the stress today? Soak it in, take it in, pause and be grateful for the wins. Absolutely. So this was a win. I've heard about Nick and Nora. We have resident bald eagles out at White Rock Lake, right over a couple miles away from us. And they have 3 younglings, which are just about ready to fly, the experts are saying. So we are going to have a whole family of bald eagles flying around White Rock for a while. It's so exciting. People go out every night to watch them at feeding time, which is roughly right around sunset. This is Nora, I was told, and this was the first time I'd ever seen either Nick or Nora. I know where the nest is. I just kind of fly past it usually, and I don't really pay attention all the time. But Nora is sitting there, appears to be guarding the nest, and also watching out for Nick, who was hopefully coming back with a fish soon. And I saw my very dear friend Hadi Jawad, who is not only an amazing social justice advocate, but a neighbor here in East Dallas. I see him walking around the neighborhood. He was out there. He and Valley were out there watching and standing in awe. It's amazing. These guys are amazing. They're huge. They're gorgeous animals. And it's just very exciting to see them. Very inspirational to see them. We had this happen on Sunday at the church. we were very pleased for our second annual ministry fair. Very exciting moment. The ministry fair is where all the different groups and agencies of our church, all the different agencies we work with, rather, in the community come. There's some Wesley Rankin friends and some Wilkinson Center friends, and they come and they share with us about how people can get involved. What might you do to get involved more in the church? Through mission, through community and connection, through outreach within the church, out the church, whatever. It's a wonderful little event, and thank you to everybody who staffed the table for the ministry fair. I want to shout this out. This was very exciting to me. This was yesterday at lunch after a busy morning, which I'll talk about. But I got to go back to Highland Park United Methodist and to see this person. This is Sarah Allman in the wheelchair. Sarah's unfortunately recently had a stroke, but a long time ago now, 1995 to be specific. So what is that, 30 years ago? Oh my God, that's 30 years ago. 30 years ago, I asked Sarah to be the lay coordinator for Austin Street Center for our ministry there, where they go once a week to the Austin Street Center to serve a meal. And Sarah did that for 30 years. Now, of course, I haven't been there for the last 25 years, but she continued on with this. Hundreds and hundreds of meals. Somebody estimated yesterday she and her husband might have personally contributed about $150,000 of their own money, and countless hours to serve the houseless in our midst. And it's been a blessing. It's always a blessing to me to be connected to Austin Street. Of course, I'm still connected. We drive around in inclement weather and we take people to the shelter. This young man handing her a certificate of thanks. Actually, I think it was a big card from some of the homeless folks themselves saying thank you. This is Daniel Roby. He is the CEO. He's the current CEO of Austin Street Center, and a dear friend. I have known Daniel. Since he was born. Honestly, I have. His mom, Linda, is one of my dear friends. So thank you. They wanted me to come back and tell the story of the early years of Sarah's involvement, and it was really wonderful. It was wonderful to be there and see a lot of old friends. And it was interesting because a lot of them were thanking me for this in the current day, which is what I want to get to today. This was the front of our Dallas Morning News, a very large local paper here in Dallas on Saturday, and you can see the top story was their story on our prayer vigil. It was a pre-story announcing and reminding the public that on Monday, yesterday, we would be holding the year-long commemoration of 1 year of prayer vigils at the ICE field office. Now, I want you to notice this front page, and I really credit the Morning News because they didn't just talk about us, we who are lifting up the harm, we who are praying for the ICE agents that they not do and create moral harm. But I want you to notice the other story on this front page, which I've blown up here for you to see. Former ICE supervisor says agency investigations unit pushed beyond core mission. This is a gentleman. This is a guy, and I'm sorry, now I suddenly can't remember his name. Oh, Todd Johnson. Todd Johnson quit ICE a couple of months ago now, maybe. Because he was a part of a elite investigation HSI task force that their job is supposed to be to help catch criminal gangs. And if we're being honest, he said his core mission doing that went off the rails during the Biden administration first, when he was sent to the border along with some of his other people in his task force to do the border guarding that was necessary because of a surge at the southern border. But he now notes that he has been pulled off task yet again by the Trump administration and put on the streets to arrest people with no criminal records. And of course, he is seeing, my point here is this is a guy who has seen exactly what we have seen. For months and months, we've been telling you the story, now confirmed by media over and over, confirmed by analysis of the data. We have seen non-criminal detainees, migrants who are going through the process of entering our country. And, he refused to call it a quota. He didn't really call it a quota in his story, but, he called it a quota. He said, well, I don't want to use the word quota, but it's a quota. They are rounding people up for no reason. They are taking people with no criminal justification. The American people were told that they would only go after the worst of the worst, a criminal element. And we have seen that they are not doing that. And now this guy has seen that. And he's not necessarily a whistleblower, but he is speaking out. And I'm grateful to him. I'm grateful to him because I think these sort of insiders, we need more of them to speak up and say, hey, this is not supposed to be the mission of ICE. ICE has look, I've known people who were high. Sarah Saldana. Sarah was the head of ICE at one point. Sarah is a friend of Denise and mine here in Dallas. Sarah will tell you that, ICE has a mission in border security, passport control, going after criminal gangs like this guy. That's what ICE is supposed to be doing. ICE has never before this time just rounded people up indiscriminately. This is new. We keep saying it's new, and thankfully people are starting to pay attention to that. So I am grateful to the Dallas Morning News for this story. Oops, I thought I was going to do that here. For this story, it was a wonderful story, and I want to talk about the story a bit, and I want to talk about yesterday and what yesterday meant to us. I'm going to be honest that probably starting in early March, I was myself getting a bit, shall I say, depressed, demoralized. Yes, Michael. I hope they asked him about that. I don't know. I will text the reporter and ask if they asked about that. Yes, Michael is asking an important question. Does DFW ICE still employ James Roden, the white nationalist, as a prosecutor? Yes, to our knowledge, he does. There was news coverage when he came back to work. Not only do they still employ him, but to talk about how unstable and wrong this time of ours is, they never got back. We had our three local Democratic folks, Jasmine Crockett, Julie Johnson, Mark Veazey, who jointly wrote a letter to ICE and said, we demand an investigation and we demand a report of that investigation to us. That's the way it's supposed to work. ICE is supposed to be accountable. Congress has an oversight to them. They never issued that report. They, to this day, have not issued the report to our local congressional members about James Roden, or however you say it. To our knowledge, no. And to our knowledge, he is still working. Thank you for that aside. And that just adds on to, that's just one example of the things that are completely demoralizing about this last year. Look, I'm going to be honest. I had some hard weeks. There's some hard stuff going on at church that's still going on. We have, I think, our own people are getting anxious and um, depressed. That's my sense. I am. I think we all are. It's a lot, and it's by design. We have to keep remembering it's by design, but it's effective, and we all go through these times. So, in this story for the Dallas Morning News, the Dallas Morning News reporter, uh, 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 Isabel Esmeralda. I'm so sorry, I can't remember her name. She asked Nancy Caston. She asked my friend Rabbi Caston, "Is this all just too demoralizing? How do you deal with that?" And Nancy came up with something, and I'm pretty sure she made this up on the spot, and it's brilliant. She said, "It's not demoralizing; it's remoralizing. It's remoralizing. It's bringing what the work we are doing as from our position as people of faith is remoralizing to us and to our community." The word morality or moral has been shot to hell in our society. And it started in the 1980s with Jerry Falwell talking about his moral majority. Many of us knew at the time it was a ruse. Um, Jerry Falwell was clearly obsessed with, sex. Obviously, he's obsessed with women and abortion and all sorts of issues that are just kind of creepy for a man to be obsessed with. But whatever. I mean, that's the way these evangelicals have been, and this obsession with personal morality. Personal morality is important. It's important for us to be moral people in our hearts, 100%. But it's not all there is. There is a public morality. There's a public morality, a budget of a city or a state or a country, as my dear mentor Bill McIlvaney would say. Budgets are a moral document. They talk about what we value. So when we're engaging in a war that we now say maybe $250 billion, what? That's a moral issue. When we're talking about the lack of due process, that's a moral issue. When we're talking about the harm to migrants, that's a moral issue. And so what we have been engaged in, I think Nancy is absolutely right, is a remoralizing, an attempt at remoralizing the public sphere, calling out as people of faith the lack of morality in what is happening in our government now. Not just personal morality, but societal morality. And so we had our 1-year anniversary for Clear DFW and our prayer vigils. This was yesterday morning at the Dallas ICE field office. We had a really, really nice crowd. Betsy, if you're still here, Betsy was there. This is just a part of the crowd. We estimate 75-ish people who showed up for this. We had a very specific set time of prayer and lament, but we moved. This is me doing the introduction as we began, and we started with lament, naming the injustice and the harm. We talked about some wins. We moved on to talk about some wins, and then finally we talked about the road ahead. What are we still going to do in the future? We had a lovely procession of smells and bells from our Episcopal friends who, I mean, man, we probably need to have some Episcopal incense just every day out there. Somebody needs to show up with the incense and just surround that building, honest to God. I was very pleased at the turnout of United Methodist clergy. This is myself and a portion of our United Methodist. I believe we had 4 or 5 more. So we had 10 or 11 United Methodist clergy out there. We forgot to get everybody. I'm very grateful to my dear colleagues in Clear. We have a kind of a group of core leaders that really, I think, do the most stepping up. And I'm sorry I don't have a picture of Kim. I just realized I had it. What happened to the picture of Kim? Well, Kim should be in here too. There's Rabbi Kasten Almas, Julie Harding from my former church, North Haven, Armel Crocker. You see George Mason and Reverend Maraben, Reverend Mason and Reverend Bim. And along with Kim, we were most of the speakers of the day. And so we went through, as we said, we cycled through the lament and then moved to the hope. And what are we going to do next? I was interviewed by Telemundo NBC. I haven't seen it. Somebody told me I was on TV. I hope it was good. I was particularly excited that Paul James was with us. This is Paul on the left with me. Paul James is the leader of Hutchins United. This is a citizen group that just sprung up out of nowhere. Paul organized a citizen group on the spur of the moment when the news about the potential Hutchins warehouse first came out. And he, to his great credit, just jumped into action and organized his neighbors. And that was a major part, along with what we did, in the stopping of the Hutchins warehouse. So thank you to Paul. Paul works at I didn't know this till a month ago maybe, he works at the Meadows Museum alongside our Kessler Park member, Robin Linick. And Paul's going to come, Kessler Park people, to Kessler Park in 2 weeks on Sunday to be with us in worship, to sort of look back, do more of this looking back at the last year. Look, it's hard to look back at it because the harm is real. The harm is real and the harm is ongoing. Texas and Dallas specifically is one of the leading places for ICE detentions and abductions in the entire country. And the harm here specifically is that we are so spread out as a massive urban area that ICE can go in with one van, pull out some people, and be gone before anybody can respond. We are not dense like Minneapolis was or Chicago was. The harm is spread out over hundreds of square miles and 7 million people. So they are able to get away with a lot, which is why we focus on the field office, that specific nexus point. That's where they bring all the people they are detaining. So we want to celebrate our work with La Colectiva, that we continue to try to support them best we can, to provide pastoral support. As they specifically talk to the migrants, they work on the back of that building doing that. Some of the rest of us do courthouse observation. And then, of course, we have the great win in Hutchins, stopping what was going to be the largest ICE warehouse. All of this is work at remoralizing America. It is remoralizing for us to demand that we follow the golden rule, not just post the 10 Commandments. Don't just do the outward and visible sign. The book of James says that God hates that. Anybody who says they love God and hates their neighbor is a liar. That's in the book of James. You've got to show it through a golden rule life, through golden rule law, and rounding up migrants on the basis of race and nationality, people with no criminal records, is unjust. And calling that out is remoralizing America. That is what we are doing. So thank you to Rabbi Kasten for that brilliant metaphor that she gave me. I am stealing that one. It's remoralizing. It's remoralizing to name the harm. it's not fun to name the harm, but it tells you you're not crazy. You're not crazy to think we are into fascism right now. It's not crazy to understand that many of the guardrails are gone. Congresswoman Julie Johnson was with us yesterday, and she's been calling this out too. And look, she has been a part of the group that has been blocked by this administration. They can't even do their regular job in oversight of these ICE facilities because this administration blocks them from it, blocks local police, blocks everybody. And we had a meeting with Dallas Police Chief. I didn't get any pictures of that. I met with him, and I just decided I wanted to just meet with him as a human and not take a bunch of photo ops. But Wednesday, Thursday of last week, we met with Chief Como, and look, we said to him, he's a former federal agent. We said to him, with all respect of all your knowledge of federal agents, federal law enforcement, he was drug enforcement for 25 years. I said, I know you understand how it's supposed to work, but you know it's not working that way now, right? And I specifically said to him, the police are not perfect, but the training that the police are doing in understanding various cultures, in being sensitive to cultural issues, in building trust among communities, that is all at risk because there are other law enforcement, ICE out there destroying that, Border Patrol out there destroying that, sowing division, yanking people out of their cars from their places of work. I said, and it's putting you, the DPD, in harm's way, and I worry about that. And there are untrained officers. We've seen them. We've seen the new recruits who don't seem to know what they're doing. We've seen them at the field office. That is not just a harm to migrants. That's a harm to all of us to have untrained people. It's especially harmful to other people in law enforcement, such as DPD. So naming all of that is remoralizing. Good morning, Carol Ann. Welcome. All right, friends, time for a song. I feel like this song is only tangentially connected to this. I believe I did this song a couple of months ago when I first wrote it. This is a song that means a great deal to me. And I'm going to explain it, which is not what you're supposed to do with a song, but I want you to understand what you're hearing. When Denise and I first started dating in the early 90s, 1990, you know what you do. You introduce each other to your families. You tell your story. We both grew up here in the Dallas area, so we drove by our old neighborhoods, and I drove her by Preston Hollow, where I used to live. And of course, even then, the old Preston Hollow that I knew was gone. All those old ranch-style homes have been destroyed in the massive McMansions. It's basically Highland Park North now. And it's been surreal, of course, when I was at North Haven to be there because I grew up in that area. And it was surreal to see the gentrification, the massive wealth coming in. It is one of the remaining conservative areas of Dallas, shockingly so. But my house at that moment in the 90s was still there. It's now gone. So I drove by the old house to show her where we lived. And she sort of just casually said, oh yeah, we used to mow yards here. Like, wait, what? So yeah, my dad, when he lost his spot welding job, his good solution as a working class person, really a poor guy, was to bring in more money, and the only way he knew how to do that was to mow yards. So he started a lawn business, and he said we had 5 or 10 lawns here in the Preston Hollow area, and we would later drive my route to school, and she would point out 2 lawns on the route to my school that they used to mow. about the time that I was a carefree kid growing up on those streets playing baseball. And we talked about 7-Elevens. We talked about how they would get their lunch at 7-Eleven every day, and I would get my baseball cards at 7-Eleven. And that there is every possibility in the world that once upon a time, way back, we might have seen each other. But this is the thing we both said. We probably wouldn't have seen each other. Would we have really noticed? Would she have noticed just a little spoiled white kid? Would I have noticed a brown kid and her dad walking into the 7-Eleven? Would I have even noticed them? So this was very humbling to us. And then, of course, our whole worlds collided at SMU many years later. And now we've been family for 30 years. But it's a sobering, fascinating thing to think about in this divided time that we are in right now. We are so divided by race, by class, by gender, by all the identifiers. And, and so much has changed. And we feel so grateful to have had this life together, this journey of understanding, 30-year masterclass in intercultural understanding. So I wrote this song, and it means a great deal to me. I wanted to write this song for 30 years since I first learned this. And it was really the Trump administration that gave me the final verse. So this is called The Streets of Old Preston Hollow. On the streets of Old Preston Hollow, in that sweaty summer air, I played fungo till the sun went down, a boy without a care, gulping every Slurpee I could swallow. I'd trade my baseball cards in the shade of the mimosa trees in those St. Augustine yards. And did I see you as you were back then, long before we walked our common road? Now we are family here on this big blue ball, 'cause we found some way to find each other through it all. For on the streets of Old Preston Hollow, in that same hot summer air, you helped your dad mow rich folks' lawns, that man with many cares, gulping every Slurpee you could swallow, and a hot link for a buck, Conjunto on the radio of that rusty pickup truck. And did you see me as I was back then, long before we walked our common road? Now we are family here on this big blue ball, 'cause we found some way to find each other through it all. And in case it isn't clear, this is the story of our life. I'm the clueless little white boy, she's my tough Latina wife. But lately when we look back at all that road behind, is that path we got to travel then one lover still can find. 'Cause now the streets of old Preston Hollow, well, they're all that still remain. The ranch-style homes have been knocked down, and the mailbox names all changed. And it's such a hard pill to swallow that behind those McMansion gates, some fear the ones who mow those lawns, and no one sees their common fate. But can we see each other as a friend? And can we still walk some common road? For we are family here on this tiny ball. Could we still find some way to find each other through it all? Like started on the streets of Preston Hollow. Once upon a time in Preston Hollow, on the streets of old Preston Hollow, on the streets of old Preston Hollow. The streets of old Preston Hollow. A relatively new song from me that I really like a lot. I think Denise really likes it too. She's told me that she really likes it too. You know, it's a cultural moment we're in, y'all, to think about just how deep these divisions are now, right? And how we don't see each other. The reason, this is intentional, I pull out that word, can we see? Because it's seeing each other that is the thing we're not doing right now. Too many in our world are not seeing migrants as human. They're seeing them as subhuman. And the harm of the Trump administration means that every brown person in the world now trusts white people less. That's a true thing. So it's very harmful. It's very harmful, this stuff. And it pulls us away from seeing the humanity in the other, even through the differences. Can we see each other as a friend? Can we still walk some common road? For we are family here on that tiny ball. Can we find a way to find each other through it all? That's my question. It's an unanswered question. And I'm going to leave it hanging through that song. But that's the streets of old Preston Hollow, a new song that I've been working on. And as I think I told you last week, I found myself in the last month and a half back here in the studio. This is right behind you. What you see here. I started tracking some of these new songs. A first batch. Very excited about it. Very excited about what that may lead to in a few months. Not gonna rush it. Taking my time, doing it when I can. But it's very exciting. That's my life too. Have you recorded that? That's my life too. I don't. Oh, are you asking me if I've recorded that song? Is that what you're asking, John? I think that's what you're asking. You're saying you share that life with me, and or us, and have I recorded this? Well, it's not out yet, but let me see if I can pull this off real quick. Yeah, I think I can. I have a demo, which is not public, but I will share it to y'all because I love you guys. If I can find it here. Tracks. There it is. Here's a tracked demo, which is not complete, by the way. All right, let me come back to you and post this. You can copy off this link right here. Oh boy, that's huge. That's a very long link. I didn't mean for it to be that long. Well, anyway, if you want to copy off that link, there is a secret demo version of that song out there right now, and enjoy. So it's got some really cool harmony vocals on it that I love. I need my friend Kevin Moore. Kevin Moore, who I talk about every now and then, is a musician friend of mine, was one of my dear friends in Preston Hollow. When I talk about getting my baseball cards, Kevin was who I was trading them with. And we grew up on our Schwinn bikes, running up and down the mean streets of Old Preston Hollow. And I call it Old Preston Hollow because it doesn't exist anymore. It's a neighborhood that just simply no longer exists. So I look back with it a bit of nostalgia, I suppose. And I marvel at the connections between Denise and I in that area. So that's the streets of Old Preston Hollow as we are coming up on our hour. It's probably about time to say goodbye. Thank you to all of you for being here. Feel free to copy off that link. I'm probably not gonna share it with anybody else except y'all. So cut and paste that link and enjoy a demo of the streets of Old Preston Hollow. That was our song for the day. It's unreleased. It will be a part of a new record. If I had to put the record out today, that would be the title track, probably. The Streets of Old Preston Hollow. I'm guessing that may end, I don't know. We'll see. All right, friends, thank you for being here. Betsy, and thank you for being there yesterday. Thank you to the 75-ish people who came out to help us commemorate, not celebrate, but commemorate 1 year of our vigils. It's our privilege and our honor to do this in our town, and we're grateful for the opportunity to do it. So thank you to everyone for being a part of that. I put down my cup for the last announcements to remind you that, I've got the music out. I don't think I've held these up in a while. I think most of you who are here regularly well know these two records. Most of you have them. The two records that have roughly come out in the last year and a half. Super exciting. Still amazing. And, I'm talking with my therapist, and I got a new therapist, by the way. Got a new therapist who told me exactly what the old therapist told me. It's like, Eric, you need to play your music. It's important to you. It's important to your soul to play music. So it's like, yes, sir. Who am I to argue with a therapist? Who am I to argue with the second therapist in a row to tell me this? So yeah, I'm working on the music. I'm working on the bike riding. 30 miles this week on the bike. Now that my knee is feeling better. Hoping to do one more ride this week. 30 is still the most I've done this calendar year. So that's good. Hoping to get to 50 though this week if I can, and that'll be a good barometer of where I am. Hey friends, reminder again about the text reminders. If you want to join us and forget, you can be nudged 30 minutes ahead of the show. Nudge to join us live. Just copy that link or scan that QR code, and we send a little text nudge through this list. kpumcbreeze.com form at whatever that. Just copy that or hit that QR code is the easiest way. It'll lead you straight to the form, and you'll get a little text nudge. Of course, if you subscribe on Substack, you'll get an email when we go live. But some people like to get their coffee ready. They want to get a cup. They want to get comfortable in their position so they can spend the hour. So that's what the text message is for. All right, friends, thank you for being here. It looks a bit like a little smaller group again. I got to tell you that I don't know what this means, but we sort of noticed that in a lot of places. It feels like fewer people at the stores. We've had slightly smaller crowds at church since Easter. Fewer people at Wednesday Night Live. I don't know. I don't know what that means. People are guarding their hearts, I think is what it means. And they're only getting out when they need to, maybe is what that means. Guard your heart. Come back here. Spend time. Spend an hour each week. Breathe in deeply. We'll keep doing this word of remoralizing. Not in a moralistic way, in a hand-slapping way, but in a way to say you're not crazy to demand that all of us treat each other with respect and love and compassion, with fundamental, basic humanity. That's not too big an ask. So the remoralizing work of America goes on. Thank you to my friend Rabbi Kasten for that brilliant metaphor. And thank you for being with us. Thank you to all of you who commented. I'm grateful to you all. I should tell you that coming up, I'll be here probably the next... Oh, it's Cinco de Mayo. We didn't even talk about that. Happy Cinco de Mayo. I'm trying not to culturally appropriate. So I didn't really want to do a big deal about Cinco de Mayo, but happy Cinco de Mayo. Have a margarita. I'll be here, I believe, next week, and then I will likely be off maybe for 3 weeks because I have a doctor's appointment and then 2 weeks out of town. This is what I think is going to happen. So tell everybody, come join us next week, y'all, because we then get a break for all sorts of reasons. But yeah. All right, friends. Thank you for being here as always. God bless you and keep you. Until next time, this has been Coffee on the Porch. Have a great week. Bye-bye.